Former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort became the latest in an ever-growing string of Trump employees and aides and friends and people in his orbit to plead guilty to federal charges today. And also the latest to enter into a cooperation agreement with the special counsel. He pled guilty to 1 count of conspiracy against the US and 1 count of conspiracy to obstruct justice due to attempts to tamper with witnesses. It's weird that he pled guilty to that second one because I keep hearing that conspiracy to obstruct justice isn't a real thing. We shouldn't actually worry about it. So that's a couple of extra charges. Of course, in the first trial that he'd already gone through less than a month ago, I believe there were 9 charges that he was found guilty of then. So we've passed 10 now, and this is by his own admission. As a result of that, he will not face 5 additional charges that he would have faced if his second trial, which had been planned to begin in the next couple of weeks, would have gone through. Thanks to this deal, that will not happen. But in addition, prosecutor Andrew Weissman told the judge that Manafort's plea agreement with Mueller's team is a cooperation agreement and other charges will be dropped. The scope of the cooperation was not immediately clear. We've learned a little bit since then, but not a ton really. We do have a video of Trump's attorney as of today, which we'll roll now.
Tough day for Mr. Manafort, but he's accepted responsibility, and we wanted to make sure that his family was able to remain safe and live a good life. He's accepted responsibility, and this is for conduct that dates back many years, and everybody should remember that.
So there's 2 interesting things that you might have noted in there. The last part is, this is conduct that dates back many years. And as we all know, crimes don't matter if they were before. This always should be looking forward, not looking back. But the other thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but he said he wants his family to stay safe.
Yes.
What is that about? He knows what he's doing by dropping something like that.
Well, these guys wrap themselves in family all the time, family and the flag or whatever. And what's odd to me about Manafort is his daughter has come out. Remember, she's come out and called him a monster, and she was really quite vocal about the fact that she thought he was guilty, and she thought the way he did business was sleazy. She's been so outspoken about it. They're just odd. So when he said family, that's right where my mind went.
See, that's super interesting because we all had a slightly different take on that. I thought he was saying, like, now that I'm cooperating with Mueller and partly against the Russians, I'd like to make sure that my family's safe. So
there's that too.
Yeah, I mean that's also a possibility. But let's get to the heart of the issue. Now that Manafort has pled guilty, countdown to Donald Trump saying, flipping should be illegal. It ought to be like we should think about making it illegal. Flipping, there's another word for it. Cooperating with law enforcement. That's literally what Trump said earlier. He thinks that perhaps cooperating with law enforcement should be illegal. Gee, I wonder which side he's on, cops or robbers.
We have a little bit of that comment. We don't have the full thing, but here's a little bit of Donald Trump talking about what he knows about flipping.
One of the reasons I respect Paul Manafort so much is he went through that trial. They make up stories. People make up stories. This whole thing about flipping, they call it. I know all about flipping.
Are you considering pardoning Paul Manafort?
I have great respect for what he's done in terms of what he's gone through.
That's the thing. Now that he's cooperating, the question is, could he potentially pardon him? He could potentially pardon him. I saw something in a Vox article, there was a sentence, I actually tweeted out, it was, pardoning is now off the table because the president would never do something that would be seen as so brazenly self-serving. And I thought, if somebody just woke up and found themselves in the Trump presidency.
It's like that meme of a guy waking up from a coma and the nurse says, he's like, did I miss anything? Well, Trump is president. Well, there's no way he'd pardon, himself in a criminal investigation and all of his associates.
Yeah. And so in the longer version of that clip, he talks about flipping maybe should be illegal. He's known people that have had people flip against them for the last 30, 40 years, which again makes you go, who are the people you know? How many mafia bosses do you know that this was an issue for? But look, we don't have the soundboard today, but yes, one more time, down goes Manafort, down goes Manafort. But the most important part, and the question we asked yesterday is, to what degree is he cooperating with prosecutors? Is this a plea deal, just saying, okay, you guys got me, I'm not gonna go through trial, I'm gonna save $1 million, because he's already spent $1 million in legal defense, and he would probably have to spend another $1 million to go through a second trial. And just, okay, throw the book at me, but not quite as much because I'm pleading to a deal? or no, I'm going to give you everything I got, okay? And it appears for now, and I'll tell you the marker that you'll be able to tell for yourself which way it's going in just a little bit. But it appears for now that he is fully cooperating with prosecutors. So tick, 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 tick. And so now the reason I'm going to quote Dershowitz here, who I have no respect for at all, is because he has been going around pretending to be Donald Trump's lawyer on TV, even though Trump never hired him. It's like brazenly begging for a job. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. But he is in full tilt defense of Donald Trump, and he is today. But even Dershowitz went on TV and said, there is no half cooperation. No, the prosecutors only give you a deal if there is full cooperation. And here's an important part. Once you begin talking, there is no undoing that talk because you've already given the evidence that the prosecutors want. So if the pardon's gonna come, it's gotta come right now because he's in mid-song, right? And so if it doesn't come right now, and then the prosecutors come out and say, we have gotten good cooperation from Manafort, that means that Trump is likely screwed. Now that Trump is okay if he, well, not okay, he's gonna have other issues, but if he goes, pardon right now, pardon, no, he's fine, pardon, what do you mean, right? He's got to do that, or the evidence comes out and the prosecutors have it and they could use it later, even if there is a pardon. And then secondarily, if prosecutors come out and say, this was not full cooperation, and the judge has told them, you have to come back and tell me, did he fully cooperate or did he not fully cooperate? And accordingly, we will sentence him, okay? So if prosecutors come out and go, not full cooperation, that means he did not flip on Trump, and he'll get a little less of a sentence for not going through the trial. If they come out and say full cooperation, that means he flipped.
Yeah, and the weird thing also to hear Trump kind of try to continue to message as he does, where these facts are made up, and you know what they'll do? They'll make stuff up on you. You know, this trial, as it was prosecuted by Manafort, I mean, I don't mean it literally, I'm talking about as he put together his defense, it's not like 1-800 attorney is in there defending this guy. He's got tremendous resources. And so when he sees that there's no light at the end of this tunnel and that he has to make this change, he's not seeing a bunch of stuff that's made up and can be knocked down in a court of law, because as I say, he has, you know, some of the best legal minds that he can put together working on that team. He sees those are real facts that are going to be as damning as can be, and he'll never see the light of day from prison. So that's why he has to take the deal.
Yeah, Gates flipped on him, his longtime associate, and it's not a light thing to plead guilty to these terrible charges, now 10 in total, including conspiracy against the US. And I'm curious to see if Trump's gonna double down on flipping should be illegal, because if he says you should not cooperate with law enforcement as they unearth a conspiracy against the United States of America, I mean, that's a hell of a moment. And we've had a lot of those moments, but that might top them all.
That's a great point, though. It's not just money laundering and tax evasion, and I think you're right, because I think I was focused on the money laundering and tax evasion, and in the lights I may have lost that specific charge. You're absolutely right. This is it's very serious, and his toxicity is now, it seems, most definitely going to leak out onto Trump.
Yeah, and it's difficult to know exactly what he would have when it comes to Trump's lawyers cooperating, especially longtime lawyers. It makes a little bit more sense. Like Cohen, has been with him for a long time, involved in a lot of deals. But in terms of Paul Manafort, one area that he probably would know quite a bit about is the meeting in Trump Tower. He probably would know when Trump knew about it. How involved was he in setting it up and communicating afterward, and all of that. So we could potentially find out more about that.
So there's a couple of possibilities. Trump Tower is, of course, at the top of the list because he was in that meeting, and we already know that there was a number of lies that Donald Trump Jr. and Donald Trump told about that is now a public record. They first said it was about adoption, then they said, yeah, sorry, we're just kidding, it wasn't about adoption. It was about the Russian oligarchs trying to get out of sanctions in return for dirt on Hillary Clinton. Then they said they didn't get any dirt. Now, is that true or not true? Then Donald Trump said, oh, I didn't write the statement saying that it was just about adoption. Now they had to admit, yes, Donald Trump did dictate the statement that lied about what the meeting was about, so it reaches the president. And then there was talk of whether Donald Trump was made aware of the meeting, which would then link him to the collusion. And so those are all the things at stake in the Trump Tower. I think there's another larger issue, but go ahead, John.
Well, it just that one thing that you said is what they have said, that we didn't get any dirt, which could end up being just a clever way to message around that. They didn't need to get the dirt. They didn't release the dirt. But the dirt was released, and it's possible that the communication was about coordinating when that should happen. Because remember, those things started coming out within a couple of hours of not the National Enquirer, the Billy Bush tape and all of that. So certainly somebody was waiting to spring it. They might not have had any conversations, but if they did, it didn't necessarily have to involve them getting the dirt. So he could be technically true, but also lying.
Oh, John, that is such a great point. I don't know why I haven't thought of that all along. Because they don't have to receive the dirt at all. The Russians released it to everyone. So in essence, the Trump team received it as well as the entire public, which was the whole point. What they could have discussed in that meeting is, if we win, we'll look out for you. You guys release what you have on Hillary Clinton now. And they did. They released it after the Trump Tower meeting. So, and then they get to say in a lawyerly way, we did not receive that information in that meeting. So,
and this is all speculation, obviously, but Paul Manafort might know.
Well, that's something I totally don't understand about how the Trump campaign, or Trump and his administration are talking about the meeting and the idea of collusion is, if they came out and said, we colluded with Russia to win the election, Republicans would just say, great, that stopped Hillary Clinton from being president. She's a threat to the United States, and it's a good thing that you did. So I still honestly don't understand why there's this, like tiptoeing around language and this shifting story. I feel like they could honestly just come out and maybe, at best, I'm guessing maybe it's a calculated risk that they're not doing it, but all of this just sort of, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
No, Jules, they need a fig leaf, because I think you're right about the substance of it. The Republicans are like, yeah, we won, and the Russians helped us, who cares, right? That's my sense of the politics of the moment, but they need a fig leaf because it's illegal. So you can't just come out and go, yeah, I worked with a foreign country during our elections, and I took valuable information from them, which breaks all campaign finance laws. What are you gonna do? Hashtag suck it? No, you can't. I mean, even Trump can't do that, right? That's why they need to pretend, well, I mean, we didn't technically get the information, so that all the Republicans like Mitch McConnell can go, good enough. They didn't technically get the information.
Although I think that Trump is well within the realm of tweeting out hashtag suck it.
That is entirely possible.
Hashtag haters and losers.
But one other thing. Look, Manafort might have information on that, as we just discussed, might be super, super relevant to that law breaking that the Trump campaign might have participated in. But the other thing he could have information is about Russians in general. And what I mean by in general is, this guy has deep ties to pro-Russian forces in Ukraine and to the Russian oligarchs. Now, if the Russian oligarchs made deals with Trump, either connected or not connected to Manafort, could Manafort know it? So, and Manafort's an expert in money laundering. That's why he's in this world of trouble. Some of us suspect that Trump did money laundering with the Russians. So could Manafort know that? Now, again, we're not sure now because we don't have the direct evidence of what Manafort knows, but the prosecutors are about to. So, tick, 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 tick. So either Trump is in a lot of trouble or it's game over.
Wow.
And just to circle it back around, I guess I technically have to say this, in response to all of this, Sarah Huckabee Sanders says this has absolutely nothing to do with the president or his victorious 2016 presidential campaign. It is totally unrelated. Thank you, Sarah, for not mentioning how many electoral college votes he got. And then just one little interesting thing, just because Jared pointed this out to me, and it is a little bit weird. Rudy Giuliani put out a statement. Once again, an investigation has concluded with a plea having nothing to do with President Trump or the Trump campaign. The reason, the president did nothing wrong. But it's interesting, that was not the first draft of that statement. That's the second draft. In the first draft, he said the president hasn't done anything wrong and Paul Manafort will tell the truth. But then they took that back, took out Paul Manafort telling the truth and released this new one. So have fun over the weekend watching to see if he pardons Paul Manafort. But if he doesn't, he might drop a piano on Paul Manafort, at least in terms of hashtag suck it.
They're so clunky and reckless, like that kind of like to release a draft and then to somehow edit it and re-release it. I mean, it's just everything this administration does, even on policy, their stuff is clunky. I mean, from the very first weekend, they were screwing up everything to do with even sound policy, what they consider was sound policy. And Manafort is, they're taking a bunch of his residents away, aren't they? He's losing a bunch of these very expensive homes and residences he has. And so when Trump refers to the cost of the prosecutor, the special counsel, actually, not prosecutor, but special counsel Mueller, these acquisitions by the federal government, just taking the Manafort properties, pays for that entire investigation. So Manafort is, it's only the beginning of this Manafort thing. And boy, Cenk points to, I think, he could just be the piñata, of criminal acts that this Trump organization is part of.
That's going to flow out when Mueller hits it. So last couple of things here. You guys are absolutely right about the Giuliani statement. Giuliani, he says, now Manafort's going to tell the truth, and that will show you that Trump didn't do it. He goes and talks to Trump. He's like, yeah, take that back. Think about that. Think about that, right? Okay.
Take the truth part out.
Let's take that part out, okay? And then finally, to just give you a sense of why I said the thing earlier about game over and what the range of options were. Earlier, the range of options are, and I said this on air because I wasn't sure at all, that Manafort might have done illegal things having nothing to do with Trump. So if they had nothing to do with Trump, he'd have no evidence on Trump. That option is almost eliminated because prosecutors accepted the deal. They would not accept a deal if Manafort's got nothing on no one else. So that's hanging on by a reed. 1%, 5% chance that Manafort comes in and goes, okay. I mean, it was just me and I'm super bad guy. You didn't know how bad I was. Now I'll tell you how bad I am, but not connect to anyone. They're like, wow, that's so bad. Okay, fine, I'll give you a plea deal. But that is very unlikely. Again, even Dershowitz says very unlikely. So that option is almost eliminated. That only leaves you two options. One is he at least knows about Trump Tower, in which case Trump's in a lot of trouble if that Trump knew about it and the deal was go ahead and release the Hillary Clinton emails in exchange for God knows what. And that's an important, very, very important part. By the way, receiving valuable information that is of value is against campaign finance laws from a foreign government. It's illegal and a huge problem for Trump. Maybe he survives that, as Jules said, in a political fight in an impeachment issue. But if they promise something in return, whether it's technically treason or not, the politics of that is, hey, I will give you something that the Russian government wants at the cost of the United States government and citizens. You don't win that political battle. So if Manafort has that information on what the Russians wanted back, oh boy, that's good night, Irene, too. And then there's the money laundering, and that's a bigger if. If he knows stuff about Trump's money laundering, that's absolute game over. So that's your range, and it ain't a good range for Donald Trump. So one more time. Tick, 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 tick. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.